Welcome everybody to this episode of Cronin's Corner. I'm privileged and it's my pleasure to have as a guest today the president of Mount Wachusett Community College, Jim Vander Hooven. My top priority, and I think the top priority for everybody in the legislative delegation, is creating economic opportunity here in north central Massachusetts, creating pathways for young people to enter and stay in the middle class, and meeting the needs of our regional workforce. So there is probably no bigger partner in that mission than President Vander Hooven, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much for having me.
I appreciate it. So for those watching that don't know you or your background, can you talk a little bit about what brought you to Mount Wachusett Community College and your professional background up to that point?
Sure. I actually began my professional career as a high school teacher and then became a high school administrator. And then there was one day when I became an adjunct faculty member at a college out in Denver, Colorado. It's very similar to a community college. And I was 27 years old at the time. And when I walked into the classroom for the very first night, I was the youngest one in the room. And I'll admit my naivety. I did not at that point realize that folks went back to college.
Right.
That folks retooled, that folks would engage in higher education, later in life. And when I realized that, and that I had that experience that I did that fall semester teaching American literature, my life literally changed overnight. And ever since then, I've committed myself to access and opportunity for folks to be able to change their family tree, to enter the workforce and careers that they are passionate about. And one thing led to another, and I've been involved with leadership in community colleges now for going on 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a real passion when I get to stand up on the stage at commencement and shake each graduate's hand to see the journey that they've come through. Some of them will walk across the stage holding their children. They'll be hearing the hoops and hollers from the audience, knowing what they went through to get to that point. It fills me with a real passion for continuing to do this work. And there's no better place that I've been than north central Massachusetts to see the investment that our legislators have, which we're very grateful for, mm-hmm. but also the community to really stand behind the community college and to make sure that we're doing what we can to be successful.
Mount Wachusett is such an asset to the entire region too. Not only it's a huge employer in Gardner and at the Devens campus, but you mentioned access and opportunity to the workforce. Right. Can you talk about how you view the role of not just community college, but Mount Wachusett specifically in the community?
Sure. We need to be responsive, first and foremost. Responsive to economic conditions within our region, as well as workforce needs. And so one of the highest priorities that I have, if I were to walk you through a typical day, which there really isn't a typical day, right? Yeah. But if I were to create it in my mind, it would be in outreach to our local business and industry, in interaction with our legislative delegation, to make sure that the curriculum that we are putting forward and that we are offering to our students on both the credit and the non-credit side, the certificates, the workforce training that we're doing, is relevant and needed within our region. And we can't spend 3 to 5 years talking about what we think and that might be.
Figuring it out.
We've got to be responsive, and we need to put into place that direct pipeline opportunity, particularly in the age that we're in right now, where we're seeing such tremendous change within the workforce. We need to be responsive, and our involvement with the local chambers of commerce with local business communities is paramount to our success.
So many people were displaced during COVID from the industry that they were working in. How have you seen that at Mount Wachusett affect what is relevant and what is needed in our regional workforce?
Well, I would first say that perhaps the greatest impact has been in how we can continue to engage and enroll students in their paths to new careers. You're absolutely right. Folks were displaced from the workplace, and we have needed to pivot to figure out ways to deliver our content and deliver our opportunities to students so that they can continue to manage their lives when many of them have children who are enrolled in K-12, and different school districts are doing things differently, and it's been such a difficult time to figure out, whether students are going to be in school, whether they're going to be remote learning. And so we have really pivoted in that regard. I think that as we have continued to go through the pandemic, that we may have some changes that we've done that are here for good.
To stay.
Here
Yep.
to stay. However, historically, our students who come to the Mount need a little bit more support, sometimes academically, sometimes financially, sometimes just to navigate the experience of higher ed, because we do have a lot of first generation, first college going populations that attend the Mount. And so we really need to make sure that we focus on what are our students' needs, how can we assist, whether it happens to be transportation, housing security, food insecurity,
all those social determinants of success.
All of those things, right.
Yeah.
And really be as responsive as possible to what those needs are so that they can get on with their lives in a positive way.
And if that's the student side, can you talk to me about how you view kind of the needs of the region? We had Roy Nascimento, who's the head of the North Central Chamber, on last month, and we talked a lot about the One North Central Plan, which is a regional economic development blueprint for North Central to kind of make sure we're all rowing in the same direction. And Roy, he talked about how the report talks on logistics and distribution, tourism, arts and culture, and advanced manufacturing as things that we have a strong base on now, and we need to continue to grow. So, just would you agree that those are places where we need a skilled workforce, and those places are relevant and needed for the college to focus on?
Absolutely. It's interesting when you say, would I agree with that? I would say that I agree with it as much as I do, because that is the work that Roy is doing.
Right.
And that's the work that Melissa Federhoff is doing in Neshoba Valley. It's the work that Carol Jacobson is doing in Gardner. And so the information that we glean and that we get from the chambers of commerce that are so responsive to the business needs informs how we create our content and our curricula to make sure that we're meeting those needs. And it's not only that, because we have different avenues for meeting those needs. One is through the North Central economic report that you mentioned, but also we have the regional workforce blueprints that the Commonwealth
and Mass Hire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have a really close partnership with Jeff in the Mass Hire office in Leominster, which is like right next door to our Leominster campus. And so the work that he does, and Adam Duggan in our lifelong learning, adult basic ed, all of that wraps together to inform what we do. And an example of that would be the need for healthcare workers.
Yes.
That has just really exploded. I mean, that is all of those relevant fields. And so we actually developed a CNA program that we offer that is combined with ESL.
Mm-hmm.
And so the student will come in, they will do ESL and CNA at the same time. Many of those students will already have a job placement before they've even graduated, and then they enter the workforce.
Right.
And you know, as I've talked to folks around the community, I've spoken with you several weeks ago as well, mm-hmm. that those needs not only for medical and health related, but mental health and social work areas are specific areas of focus that
every domain of health and human services.
No doubt,
right?
No doubt.
Absolutely.
That's right.
One of the programs that Mount Wachusett has spearheaded that I'm the most proud of, just that we have here, that we are leading on in the Commonwealth, is early college. Can you tell me about the start of the early college program, its success, and where you hope to see it go in the future?
Absolutely. I think for a couple of reasons, early college opportunities are vital. One, first and foremost, if you just take the population of high school students, it is a really big indication of future college graduation.
And just for people at home who might not be aware of what early college is, it's juniors and seniors, and in our region, Fitchburg, Leominster, and Gardner High School, who have the opportunity to take college classes at Mount Wachusett and earn college credits before they even graduate high school.
That's correct.
Right.
Right. And we even have a program where some secondary students are able to graduate with their associate degree at the same time that they're graduating with their
which is pretty
high
remarkable
school degree.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the performance, the future performance of those students, and recognize that they are significantly more likely to graduate with their bachelor's degree, those opportunities are really keep a motivation for those students. From a workforce perspective, I think it's absolutely vital, because our economic outlook, we may have a reduced number of, say, high school graduates within north central Massachusetts, in fact, perhaps throughout most of New England. And so the more we can do to start as early as possible in fostering engagement in those types of concepts, I think is really important.
And Leanne Scales, who I know works for you and is a terrific community partner for all of us, she tells a great story about, for kids who would be a first-generation college student to go onto your campus, to take classes from a college professor, to sit in that environment and kind of look to their left and to their right and say, hey, I can do this.
Absolutely.
Or hey, and then to have the support system to help them pursue their associates or pursue advanced post-secondary education. There's nothing like it, and it's the single biggest thing that young people can be exposed to that's going to predict whether they're successful at attaining the next highest level or degree.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And how many kids do you have?
In the early college program?
No, I'm like at home.
Oh,
as a dad. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But you got 3?
I was going to say I should know this number.
You got this.
Yes,
Yeah,
I do know
you can't
this
screw
number.
this one up.
I have 3 children.
Right.
We have a 13-year-old who's in 8th grade, an 11-year-old in 6th, and 8-year-old in 3rd.
And I say that just because I think what I would like parents to realize is what an incredible cost savings this program is. Right? Can you speak to that?
Yeah. One of the things that really discourages me is the concept that the cost of a higher education is equivalent to its value.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not true.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, if you can begin to take your associate degree level courses, whether through early college or once you've graduated from high school and take your first 2 years, you will be saving tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And the reality is, in many, many respects, getting that diploma and getting that experience is a result of what you put into it,
Right.
not what they offer you. And I can also tell you that what we are offering you are the supports that you will need in order to be successful.
Right.
So you get the best of both worlds. You get the one-on-one attention, you get the advising, you get the career advising work that we have through our college and career alignment. We make sure that the academic program that you're on is right for you. And then you will graduate with significantly less debt, if not no debt, before you move on to complete a bachelor's degree or whatever it is that your career goal happens to be.
And I don't know how, there's nothing I can do as a state senator to change the fact that it costs $75,000 a year, $80,000 a year to go to Boston College or Boston University. But in the state budget this year, we were able to recognize the success of the early college program across the Commonwealth and in these relationships, and we were able to double the budget. So can you speak about, are you poised right now in position to grow access to that for students in the region?
Absolutely, yes. And I think that it is a college priority, because what the additional funding, which obviously we're very grateful for, the additional funding allows us to really build out those support services for the students. So in some respects, it's different than many other grant type concepts where you get a certain amount of money, whether it's from the federal government or from a foundation, and you institute a new program for a certain subset of students, and that comes to an end after 3 years, and you're left trying to really figure out, what to do next. This investment in early college, and in fact in the community colleges overall, with the attention that we receive from the legislature and from the governor, is an acknowledgement that the community college plays this elevated role in our regions in order to meet the workforce needs that we began talking about. It's an absolute acknowledgement, and it allows us to offer those supports to our students.
And can you speak to the scope of this program here in the region at Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of students with access and availability to this program, right?
That's right. And we have different programs and that all amount to the same thing, and that's saving the students money to get the college experience under their belt. Some of the students are on our campus full-time. Some of the students are on our campus for 1 or 2 classes, depending on what type of program they're involved in. But every single one of them receives the support that the Mount provides to keep them moving towards their goals.
And I just don't think there's a better investment that we're making. Like, to me, it is short money. We do a $47 billion budget at the state that we passed in May in the Senate, and the governor signed soon after. To fully fund these programs was $2.5 million in fiscal year 21, and we doubled that program to $5 million in fiscal year 22. And I just don't think there's a better bang for your buck anywhere in terms of making the right investments in ourselves, in our young people, in our generation. And I hope, and I'm hopeful for, this is a program that we can really continue to build out and sustain, and just want to thank you for your leadership in it.
Thank you.
Very exciting. And if you are the parent of a high school student, or you got 3 kids at home and you don't want to retire when you're 125, look into these programs, because they are really, really terrific and exceptional. You also talk about how the Mount is so reflexive to the needs and the changing needs of the region. And one of the key industries that we have and have a terrific and strong base of here in North Central Mass is advanced manufacturing. Can you talk about the Mount's programming for advanced manufacturing, how it partners with local industry, and the opportunities it provides for young people looking to get into the sector?
Absolutely. That's a perfect example of the short-term certificate, short-term training opportunities that our region has available to them.
Yeah.
We work directly with the business and industry to make sure that the certifications and the programs that we're offering in advanced manufacturing are appropriate for what they're then going to be taking the students and then doing their own, individual work with. And sometimes sometimes I want to change the term advanced manufacturing, because I've found over the last several years that the use of the word manufacturing, even with the term advanced put in front of it, still harkens people back to a different time, a different age, without recognizing how far advanced manufacturing and manufacturing in general has really come. We're really talking about advanced robotics.
Yes.
We're talking about
coding and programming,
and a level of technology that is 10 miles above my own head.
Mm-hmm.
That if we can change the image of how we're marketing these fields and interesting people, getting people excited about robotics and advanced manufacturing, if we come up with the right term, I think that will be very helpful, because I think that some folks may be scared of it. They might think, oh, I don't know if I could, it is not what manufacturing used to be in many respects.
Right.
It's what the future of our region is going to be, as evidenced by the businesses that are either locating here, establishing themselves here, or relocating to our region. One drive around Devens and one drive around Leominster and Fitchburg, and you will see the refurbishment of the buildings. You'll see.
And they aren't your mom and pop's factories, to your
they
point,
are not.
right? And they provide, opportunities for six-figure, high-paying jobs with great benefits.
Absolutely right.
And they're growth industries too.
Right. That's right.
Myself and Representative Kilcoyne from Clinton went to Jabil, and state-of-the-art 21st century healthcare product manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And they need highly skilled workers, especially in their, tool makers, and
yes.
You name it. There is such a demand.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough before the pandemic hit, but I went for a tour of AIS, the furniture manufacturer.
Remarkable.
And when I came out of that building, and I had become so energized by what they need in order to expand their workforce. And they're so involved in our region and in our community. They're invested in the good that is happening in our region. But I got out to my car and I thought, I feel like I just walked a long way in this tour. And I looked at my phone and I looked at the health app or whatever app.
How many steps? Yeah.
I had walked 1.2 miles inside the building for that tour. And that is manufacturing space that is happening all over our region.
They are one of the 2 or 3 biggest office furniture manufacturers in the country, and employ over 700 people in Leominster, and do a ton of good for the community. Absolutely. But meeting their needs is so important, because we need these places to stay here too. We need to meet their changing needs.
Right.
When you think about all the adults that were displaced in COVID-19, a lot are still out of the workforce and looking to maybe not do something different than what they were doing prior to the pandemic. What are the opportunities that the Mount provides, and how do people maybe watching right now, what are the first steps they can take to pursue retooling their skill set?
Sure. One of the long-term or the long-standing issues I think that higher ed has had, and I'll just use my own example. It wasn't until my last semester of college before I went in to meet with a career counselor who helped me put together
figure out what you're going to do, right? Yeah.
At that point, I had already attended for 3.5 years, invested, however much money in that education. And I think back on that time and think, what if I would have then realized that maybe this wasn't the career path that I had wanted to go down. And it ended up being pretty close. I ended up teaching high school English,
Yep.
for a little while at least. There aren't many career advisors who suggest becoming president of a college, and that evolves over time. But what we did at the Mount a couple of years ago is we brought out a new program. It's called our College and Career Alignment Project, where we front load all of that. So when you come into the Mount for your first meeting, when you set up an opportunity to meet with someone in admissions or advising or in our career center, the first thing that you're going to do is start doing that career assessment work to make sure that you enter the
pathway that most aligned with your interests and your skills.
Exactly right.
Right.
Now, even with that, are some folks going to change their minds? Absolutely. That's just,
don't we all?
That's
yeah,
life.
That's life.
Right. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. But this is saving students money.
Right.
It is saving their investment in a direction that they want to be in. And it's great.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to be the state senator forever. You will not be the president of Mount Wachusett Community College forever. Someday you go to the next opportunity or ride off into the sunset. Where would you like to leave Mount Wachusett, and where would you like to take it over the next few years?
I would say that ultimately, if we continue to play the role in our region as the where you go to meet the local workforce needs, then I'll be happy. It's not about buildings. It's not about anything other than how are we preparing our students and this region for the next chapter.
And I think you already said it, but my last question is, what is your favorite part about being the president of Mount Wachusett?
The students, no question. To see where they are when they come in. I truly mean this. My second favorite day of every year is new student orientation, because I get to see their nerves. I get to see what they're coming in. I get
Absolutely.
to see what their goals are, what they'd like to achieve. And my favorite day of the year is commencement, because you see the natural reaction to this accomplishment. And it is a big accomplishment for our students. And we feel really honored to play a role in their success.
Jim, I'm so thankful for your time and your partnership and all the great work. When I think of Mount Wachusett and all the faculty there, I mean, you're truly doing God's work in this region, and all the opportunity that you're creating for young people who and older adults who go through your doors. So thank you very much. It's so important just for economic opportunity and growth in the region, and people entering and staying in the middle class. So thank you for your leadership and all you continue to do, and I look forward to continuing to partner with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to thank you also for your support, the legislature's support, but also for your service to our country. That is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's it for this month on Cronin's Corner. Please join us next month, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.